Yo. Same me. Different day. Continuing to sand. What's up, Jay? If any of you Instagrammers want to go on YouTube, YouTube's up too. So you don't. If you want to be able to use your phone and watch along, go to YouTube. Ryan Thiel, what's up, dude? I didn't get finished with my DT6 sanding yesterday, so I'm trying to finish it up. My buddy Keith called, said he wants to go fishing this afternoon, so gonna try to sneak out with him at about 3. Hella is putting out the peer pressure on YouTube and saying, and also if you want to be cool, you go to YouTube. The stash is getting pretty lush there, Johnny. It is getting pretty lush. Dennis, you like the Rayburn Blue? I got free rein on those, and the guy, fishes in Texas, and I was like, I'm gonna throw him something a little different, but because honestly, I had a bait that's called, or it's a color that's called bayou bug, and if you look at it, it's like an iridescent blue-green sides, and it's got an orange belly, and it's got red over the shoulder, and it's got like a dark colored back. But the majority of the bait is like a iridescent-y green and blue with a red shoulder. Not a typical crawl looking thing. I don't even know if I have that bait still. I just don't know where it would be. It might be in here, but I threw it a lot in Texas, and it was one of my favorite colors. So I did that for him, and I was like, this isn't a typical like Rayburn red or bright bright color. What's weird is like a lot of the red stuff I catch fish on are not like your stereotypical reds. There's like something odd about them. Like Jordan's crawl and y'all throw the pompadour? Let's see. I think that bait's there. It is. This bait had really weird hook rash on it. Like it only wore on this, like it wore in a horseshoe, but it only wore on these 2 points. Like that side and that side both have the same wear marks. It's really odd. Right there. And right there. Kind of looks gold on the YouTube camera, but you can kind of see it. It does look more gold than greeny and blue, but it's more green. But dude, I killed them on this color. It's basically just like I guess it's because I sprayed it over something else. But it didn't look like much. But I smashed them on this thing in the summertime. Like people typically don't throw they're not throwing crawls out there in the middle of summer, but I'd go out there on those Texas lakes and I'd throw this thing And you can see all the damn teeth drags on it and stuff. I mean, this thing got gnawed on. Uh, the YouTubers, y'all can see it a little better. Y'all can see the cameras a little better. Y'all can see all the damage done to this thing. But that was probably one of my favorite colors to deep crank with out there in the summer. Oh, you want to see the pompadour? Dude, I used to paint these things for Bama Bass, and they were such a pain in the ass because I had to remove all the hooks, or not remove all the hooks. I had to remove all the hardware. And when you've got like 60 of those to paint, it was not fun taking these damn wings off and putting them back on. Marty Burns, what's up? This was the big one that I painted. And dude, talk about another thing that was a royal pain in the ass for these was getting a stencil to tuck behind those bars. I mean the hardware connector, and trying to like get in here and like put a mark right here. And dude, I had to like create all these weird little stencils that would like sneak in, like, and you can't even see them. I don't even know why I did it. I guess because it wasn't a bluegill without that stuff. But like behind the wings, you can see I put the little gill mark on it. But these were I kept this one, and I kept one of the smaller size, but they were not fun to do. I'm glad those don't exist anymore for me to paint. This one, the clear coat dicked up. So when I was spraying KBS, it looked like ass. I sprayed it too heavy and it got these little micro bubbles in it. But that's the kind of shit you experience when you use shitty ass KBS. That is what you deal with. The boys on the chat will be happy about that, Marty. YouTube visitors, Burns on Instagram says he is sanding this bait. So the next balsa one will be that one. But I never even, yeah, Marty, these things go walk around. That's a little size. I don't see. I mean, I don't know. Such a wild design. So clever though, and it's like 80 years old. I think that's what's such a cool thing about the crawler baits is it's such old technology. Kyle, I don't know, dude. Like I use KBS forever. Like I started using KBS in probably like 2012. Like I used epoxy for the majority of like when I got started, but after that, I had a guy approach me, and he was like, "Can you paint baits for me?" I was like, "Sure." And actually, he was a guy I knew this guy, and the guy I knew was like, "Hey, you want to paint a bunch of baits?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's how I want to make an income. So yes, I need to paint a bunch of baits in order to do that." So he said the guy doesn't pay much, but I'll send you a bunch. I was like, well, if I'm painting a bunch, then it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So he's like, and the colors are simple, like, and not, I mean, nothing I do ever like. I just can't. Like when somebody says paint me something simple, I usually, unless it's a splatterback, like I can't leave something alone to make it like to where I would be like coming out on the good end of like simple paint job prices. But he's like, I think he pays He's like, he pays me like $6 a bait to paint them. I was like, that's pretty cheap. He's like, how much does it cost you to paint them? And I was like, I'd do them for 8. And he's like, let me see if he'll take 8. I was like, okay. So he's like, he looked at your paint jobs and he said eight's good. I was like, all right. So he's like, he's going to send you 100 to start with. I was like, wow, okay. And he sent me 100, and the guy asked me, he's like, what do you clear coat with? It's like, a clear coat with DevCon epoxy. He's like, that's not going to work. I was like, no. He's like, no, you'll never get done. I said, okay. He said, there's this new stuff out. It's called KBS. The only way you're ever going to get through these baits is if you dip them in this KBS shit. Okay, I don't care. He's like, it's awesome. You just dip them in and you hang them up and you like clean up the little drips and they're done. Like, all right. So that was the only reason I started using KBS, because is for those that aren't dialed into the coatings world, KBS is a moisture cured urethane, also known as an MCU. So it is uh, a dip and hang kind of clear coat where you just take your bait, dip it in it, and it dribbles down, and you clear it off, and the moisture in the atmosphere and the air is what causes it to cure, rather than a chemical, like a 2K, A and a B. So uh, it made volume painting attainable for me because I was able to dip baits in it. So I quit, or I started doing that, and the only problem is with KBS is that because it is a moisture cured urethane, moisture in the air, such as when you live in South Alabama and it feels like a fat armpit down here, you get it does some weird stuff. So if you get any kind of pooling or puddling of the stuff, like typically you'd see it, you can always pick out guys baits that use it that don't like thin it properly. But you can always see in guys baits when they dip like a bait with like an eye socket, you'll see all these little micro bubbles around the eye socket. And that's when it pulls in the eye socket, you'll see the bubbles that get trapped and they can't escape before it cures. So or on the tails, you see it, guys, that dip baits, and there'd be like little bubbles around the tails, or anywhere where the stuff like gets in any kind of a puddle. Um, and so, um, you know, there was definitely a pain dealing with that because I had to deal with such high humidity. But you would think with high humidity, it would make it cure faster, and it would, but it wouldn't like the only way for it to really cure like properly was time. So it would do all this funky stuff with all the humidity in the air, and it would dry real quick, but it wouldn't like completely like get like rock hard. And I think the guys that are able to use that stuff in like maybe out west or anywhere where the humidity isn't really bad, I feel like it might work better for them, because it's pretty decently tough. But even like, I didn't like it because I could paint a bait and I'd have to wait like, I don't know, 3 days for it to get to the point where I could like feel good about putting it in a package. And then like, even then you could still kind of, if you wanted to, you could like dig your nail into it, but it was hard enough that you could handle it. But it wasn't fully cured enough um, to like fish with really. So, I'd have to tell people, be like, hey, I painted this bait yesterday or a couple days ago. Like, give it a month, then you can fish it. Like that didn't work for me. Um, and I was using, I guess I was using like a quarter. What's bigger, a quarter or a pint? I was using one of the cans. uh, smaller than a gallon, but I guess it was a quart. I was using a quart a week, 4 quarts a month, and I started spraying it, and spraying it helped because you didn't really get the puddling, but it didn't flash off like a 2K like automotive clear. So it was weird trying to figure out like your flash times between it because it was different every time you sprayed it. Um, so, uh, but I started spraying it because I was painting so many swim baits. Like that was the only thing. I was getting so many requests for painting swim baits, and that was the only way I could clear coat a swim bait was to spray them. So yeah, so I had to get rid of that. I had to get rid of the KBS. The last time I used it, what happened? Uh, there was some straw that broke the camel's back, and I ordered a can and I never opened it. Like I wasted that like $75, and it just sat there. And it's still in Austin in the shop. It probably got bulldozed when that shop got bulldozed. But looking back, I probably should have brought it with me. Rich, what's up, dude? And used it for like uh, putting on a like sealing a balsa bait up or something. I don't know. It was I don't know. It was I just had such a like bad taste in my mouth. Oh, I know what it was. I know exactly what it was. It was it was I was getting fish eyes in my clear, so I would spray it, and my baits would have like all these little weird like fish eyes in the back, and it was just like on the back. So it was real strange, and and I could like wipe them down, and like it didn't matter. So I was like, all right, I have some sort of silicone contamination in my line. So I bought like new airlines, new airbrush, new filters, new everything. Like, it cost me like a bunch of money that I didn't have to replace all this shit. And then come to find out that it was the KBS that they had changed the formula and they were having some fisheye issues in the formula. So never didn't expect that. And they kept like dicking around with the formulas. Like they were like, oh, this is the new formula. It's like, dude, I don't want the new formula. I just like the old formula was fine. Like, yeah, it had its things that sucked about it, but I mean, once you figure out how to work around them, it's fine. Um, but every time I'd have to like learn something new about like what was wrong or what like the new quirks were of the new stuff. So like KBS is not a user friendly clear coat. Like it may seem like it is because you can just like dip stuff in it and pull it out, but it's not. It's not that. It's not as green on that side of the pasture as you would think it is. Um, so bye bye KBS. I'm glad that's 6 years behind me. Like I said, I clear coated a damn million baits with it. I clear coated a ton of baits with it. And I was excited. Like I was really excited about it at first because there was other stuff like guys like used Dick Knights before that. It was a moisture cure thing, um, and it was the same thing. You kind of dip, but like it's also limiting too, like what you can dip for like blanks, uh, like a RC or like some sort of just like generic crankbait blank. It was great. It really changed things because uh, up until that point, nobody sprayed clear coat hardly. Like unless you were like a badass, like real deal dude. Like all the mediocre like guys just like dicking around with it. We were all epoxy guys, and if you got on like Tackle Underground or anything, everybody was like epoxy, DevCon 2 ton. That's what you need. And you know, that's what the majority of baits were getting painted with or clear coated with, was DevCon. And the con of DevCon was that it was thick, and you know, you applied it with a brush, and what you saw a lot of the time when you were painting blanks was that the bills would still be uncleared, because if you put that big coat of epoxy over the bill, it didn't look that great, and it kind of just, yeah, it wasn't great. So what you started seeing with KBS was the guy's ability to clear coat bills with a thin clear coat that made it look like factory. And it was like, oh, all these blanks that guys were selling that had like foggy looking bills were now like clear, and they looked like they look like real deal baits. So that was like a cool thing, that, like, you know, my baits went from having a foggy, shitty looking bill to having a finished looking bill. But I was never happy with how the hardness of it. If you dip them in KBS, KBS is pretty, like, if you do, I mean, it depends on how much you thin it out. It doesn't add a lot of weight, but it's thicker than like a spray clear, like something I'd spray. So, uh, but it's like an in between from like a 2K clear being sprayed and maybe an epoxy. Like it's like teetering in between there. Um, Marty, Flex Coach should they should have been sending you free clear coat for like the last 10 years, as much as you've like promoted them, or not even promoted them, but just like recommended it to people on like forums and like Facebook posts and stuff. Like, I feel like you've done a lot of good for the flex coat world. Know a guy that uses something called Garco Classic. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. Like some of that stuff I could see being useful for sealing wood baits, but besides that, as like a top coat, um, not really. I just don't like waiting. I think that's the point, or the purpose of, like, once you get once you spray like 2K or even epoxy, like something with a hardener that's done in like a couple hours, like when you start having to wait like days to use stuff, like the shit's for the birds, dude. Um, like if I'm going fishing tomorrow and I want to paint a bait today to go fishing tomorrow, like I can do that and like use it tomorrow and it'll be fine. Um, so and then at the same time, before right about the time KBS came out, there was a lot of guys using experimenting, I guess, with concrete sealer, and they were dipping baits in concrete sealer, and it was like, I guess it was holding up decent for people. Um, AJ, back in the day, if I really needed, as hard as wild as this sounds, like if I was trying to rush my KBS, I would wait for it to like set up a little bit and get like just tacky to where it wasn't like running or moving anymore, and I'd dip that shit in water, and it would like super cure it. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I was trying to do to like speed it up. I was like, this is a moisture cure urethane. I wonder what happens if I just stick it in water, and it would like speed things up. But it was probably harming something on a molecular level that I didn't know about. But That's the weird, dumb stuff you do. But I don't know, besides like fishing lures, what I know like KBS, it was like a automotive coating, but I don't know who in their right mind would be like painting a motorcycle or something like they advertise and want that on their like motorcycle. Like what advantages would it have to a 2K over a 2K? Like I don't think any. Like it's everything about it is a con. Um, Longer wait times. It's to me, it's not as durable. Uh, I don't know. AJ says UV. You can just hang it from your mirror on the way to the lake. There you go. I never went that route. That was way after I had converted to 2K clear. So I missed the whole UV phase of lure painting. Uh, but if any of you guys are thinking about KBS, one thing I can tell you for certain is do not buy the spray KBS Diamond Clear. That shit is like acid in a can. Like there's so much solvent in that shit. Like, dude, it will. If your paint is not perfect, like if you don't know what you're doing as far as your paint, that shit will melt anything. If you want to ruin a paint job, experiment with that stuff because it might not get you on the first one. It might not get you on the second one. But when you say, "Oh, this shit's good," and you blast 20 of them, and then they all wrinkle up into a little raisin, you're gonna say, "Damn, what is that? Damn, what happened?" KBS is stinky. KBS is stinky. Dude, it was such a pain in the ass trying to like take. You'd have to take like paper clips and like stick through the holes of the baits to like get the clear out of them. Man. But I feel like that was a better period of time for like uh, people getting into painting because I think people respected the coatings at the time. Travis, no problem, dude. Thanks for swinging in and saying hello. Um, I think people respected the coatings more back then. Like as far as like spraying clear coats, they were like, all right, that's for like real dudes that are like properly equipped to do this stuff. I'm going to leave that alone. And there was like a kind of like a scarcity to it, to where I don't want to mess with that. And guys were hesitant to spray clear coats, and I was always scared to spray them. And you should be like if you don't know what you're doing. Um, and people would kind of help people realize that just stick to the epoxy or something that's a little safer, and don't worry about trying to spray stuff. Like you're not making that many baits. Like it's not worth the headache or the uh, the risk to deal with it. Now, dude, you get on a forum and like dude's painting in his bathroom and he's like, "Oh yeah, just go get 2K clear and spray it. Like it's fine. Yeah, it's the best stuff I've ever used. I sprayed in my kitchen." And people are like, "Oh, sweet, I'll do that." Like there's so much bad information. So much bad information. Marty, I never did. That's the thing about it that I don't know how, but I somehow managed to managed to brush on epoxy, and I never made a turner. Which I guess that Devcon was thicker, so you didn't really need to if you put it on evenly. But that I know that flex coat you use. Uh, Marty, you'd be surprised how many people spray that shit in their house. Not knowing, just because some idiot told them on Facebook that they could. That's why I'm very much like anti Facebook group for painters, because there's no criteria for you to be able to give info to people. You know what I mean? Like, you got all these guys that don't know shit about shit, like telling people how to do stuff, and like they don't know any better. Yeah, BSI is good. It's a little thinner. If you're looking for another, that's the Hobby Lobby Bob Smith Industries epoxy. The 20-minute is good, um, or 30. I can't remember which one it is. Marty, I used to set up this rig. If I did need to create a turner, I had a piece of all thread stuck in a drill, and I would turn it on low, and I would zip tie the trigger, and I would like stack weights on top of the drill so it would like sit on the table, and I would just like barely crack the drill trigger, and it would spin. That was like the poor man's bait turner. Um, it worked though. It worked. I have an epoxy to bait, and like I've epoxied lots of eyeballs in baits, but I haven't epoxied an actual bait in some time. Um, there's been times when I've considered it where I've thought to myself, man, I wish I had a big ass lure turner, but I don't. Hella probably. So this is a crash course in top coating of lures. If you ever need to, you'll know what to do. Morgan uses 30. Marty, that's freaky though, dude. Yeah, if you like, that's the other thing about like water-based paints. If you spray metallics, like metallics, they don't call them metal flake for nothing. So when you spray a metallic, whether it's water-based or diesel-based, like it doesn't matter. Like Marty said, spray that shit under a light or out in the sun, and you'll see what's going in your lungs. If you're one of those, I don't have to wear a mask because I'm spraying water-based paints, and metal doesn't break down when it's in your lungs, like it's in there. So it is in there. Jeremy, DT6s. Hello, what do you know already about coatings? Pearls, yep, all the same. Sorry, AJ, you snoozed. You snoozed. They belong to me. As the bean would say, they're mine. Mine. Uh, York, I like Marty uses I guess your first coat is super glue, and then he does epoxy over that, and that's really durable. Um, really durable. Uh, and you don't have to wait. You know what I mean? Um, so sanding sealer is not enough. Not to paint on. I think you'd be happier with the product if you took the Burns approach. Kyle, I might actually go. I'm supposed to go this afternoon at 3. My buddy Keith called and he said, "You want to go fishing?" So, maybe. Without a mask. It's just a little bit of clear. It's just a little bit of repellent dust. It's good. And I got a little water on my on my sandpaper, so it keeps the dust down. One coat of thin super glue, one coat of flex coat rod builders epoxy for a smooth finish to paint on. There you go. And I'll tell you, they're tough. AJ, what was the bait? Oh, I know what it was. It was your homemade cheddar thing. Your homemade vibration thing. Yeah, I think that's the whole thing with a balsa bait is like you're never going to be happy with it until you have a smooth, like perfect encapsulated finish to paint on. Otherwise, you're always going to chase that. Um, that is what everybody's looking for. Um, you just want it to look like a damn Bagley, or you want it to look like a Rapala. You want it to look like that perfect encapsulated piece of wood. And if you don't have the right stuff to do that, the 100% easiest way to do it is super glue and epoxy and a turner. Um, because otherwise you're trying to chase down all these like dips and shit to like dip your bait in, and then you've got like all the timetables between like when you can add this on top of that, and it's more of a pain than you want. Trust me. Um, like it may take longer, but if you're not doing like a million baits, like it doesn't matter. Like just do a handful right, and then you'll be happy. Not try to like figure out what Rapala's process is. Oh. The trailer you poured, interesting. What is everybody, speaking of chatterbait trailers, what is everybody's favorite chatterbait trailer? Not to get off topic. York, I think you'll be very happy. You can look at this bait Marty sent me. I mean, it if I can find one like that I painted, and you can see how smooth it is. Like there's one. I mean, it's a beautiful finish, and I'm not using like some kind of high build primer or anything like that. Like you can spray, you can scuff the epoxy up and spray straight to it, and it's like a beautiful finished looking bait. Like it looks clean. There's not like epoxy gobbed up anywhere. It's perfectly smooth. I mean, it's legit. For those of you on the tube, this is the result of sealing the bait with super glue and epoxy. Spunk shad. Z-crawl, Zako, or the spunk shad. That's 2 for the spunk shad. I don't even know what that is. Let me look it up real quick. I'm scared to see what pops up. Hog farmer, spunk shad. Now I know what you're talking about. That looks really, those are really good looking, those are really, yes, they do have a primer on them. Those were primed, but it's not necessary. I mean, if you scuff them up good, paint should stick to that, and it's clean. So you don't necessarily have to prime them. But it doesn't hurt. Like I said, that also depends on what you're throwing or what you're spraying, what paint. Spunk shad's better than a Zako, AJ. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Put that on one of your poles. Put that on one of your memes with the dude drinking coffee. Spunk shad's better than a Zako. Prove me wrong. Where did my so I'll use a different piece. Oh, there it is. Kyle using a matrix shad from the salt. I hear you. I hear you. Sweet beaver. That would get expensive. Which, hell, I guess a pack of matrix shads is the same cost as a pack of sweet beavs. And the speed crawl. Kyle, did you see my saltwater trailer I use? Trying to convert people to the saltwater side for bass baits. I got to remember to keep my hands up. Otherwise, people think I'm like diddling myself over here. AJ says the spunk shad is for imitating shad. The Zako is for imitating bluegill. What's your rebuttal? Daniel, that sounds... If I were you, I'd be swimming a jig all day. or are they in the weird spawn funk to where they only hit stuff that's like you have to you have to pitch every uh, 3 inches and just let it and like dead stick everything. Big bait kamikaze. Haven't tried those. I'm not a. I got a buddy that uses those a little bit. I'm not a huge fan of the profile. I think the profile is kind of ugly. Not to say they won't work. I just am not a. They had them on sale at Academy for $1, and I passed on them, even for $1. Jay, I really got to go down to Florida. Kyle, they got a few. Let me grab them. I'll show you the ones I got. They could definitely like do better on their colors, but they're good enough. This one is white ice. It's just white with a clear silver laminate, very shad-like. Then I bought this one because it's bone. Bone with some hologram stuff in it with a clear bottom. That's a good color. It's called Bone Diamond. Oh, sorry for those looking. Then the third color, I use this one for my bluegill imitators on like a green pumpkin. It's called Blue Moon. Or I put this in like dirty water. Morgan, you're talking like a true Alabamian right now. You're warming my heart. If you want to catch a 6 though, um, I really if you gave me a bunch of money, I would probably create my own chatter. I mean, my own swim jig trailer because I don't have one that I'm married to. That's like the end all be all swim jig trailer for me. I've got a bunch I use, but all of them have different qualities I like. Uh, but I don't have that one that I'm like, man, this is the like perfect swim jig trailer. But if I had some, if I had like a pile of cash, I would be developing a swim jig trailer because I don't think it exists. Just kidding, it doesn't exist that I found. Um, I use uh, I use a pack of chunk. I probably caught more fish on a pack of chunk than anything. That was like when I first got started. I started swimming a jig in like 2004 when I was in college. So been swimming a jig a while. Um, I would say that's about when me and my fishing partner uh, met up, and like it was kind of underground at the time. Like back in 2004, like that was what all the guys were catching, like big bags on the Coosa and stuff then, and they'd probably already been doing it for you know 6 years by the time we figured it out, or not didn't figure it out, but heard about it, and so we were just dumb college kids going out there swimming we swam bitsy flips and we swam rattleback jigs because at the time rattleback had the biggest hook, and then after that, once I was in college, probably 2006, maybe 7, I got tipped off to the the Oldham's jig. And then from then until like now, I still swim at Oldham's jig when I don't need mine with the big hook. Um, but Terry Oldham made a badass jig. Still does. Um, so, but then we started, like I said, we started with just swimming a super chunk, and they would destroy that thing. Um, and then we moved to the super chunk to the pack a chunk when it came out, and then we would kind of alternate between a pack a chunk and a creepy crawler, Zoom creepy crawler. You don't hear a lot of people talk about that. Probably shouldn't mention it, but it's okay. Um, it's okay. It's just us, uh, 12 girls over here talking about swim jigs. So, but um, here's the magic of the creepy crawler. If you want to know, is that you could put the creepy crawler on a crappie jig in like a damn 64th ounce, and when it falls, the legs are still going to kick. So a lot of big twin tails are like certain kicking baits. They require a certain amount of speed for them to kick properly. So if you put like a pack a chunk on a quarter-ounce jig and you let it fall, it's kind of gonna like half-ass whip. It's not gonna have the same kick that it would falling from a 3/8 or falling from a half ounce. Like up on a half ounce, because it's falling faster. So the the slower fall on a creepy crawler still kicks like fast. Um, and So you could put it on a light jig or do whatever, and it's always going to kick. But the problem with it is it's small. It's not like putting off a big profile. But I mean, I've caught a million, not a million, but I've caught my fair share of 5 6 pounders on it. But and I tend to shy away a little bit from. I tend to go to like a grub, like a twin tail type grub, even a big one. Doesn't really matter the brand. This time of year, um, because you tend to have when they go on bed, you tend to get a lot of like tail grabbers, and when you're swimming a jig in April down here, you're going to spend more time taking your trailer off and putting on another one because of those fish like being aggressive on beds and they're just like nip at stuff. And dude, you'll get 30 bites a day, and 20 of them will be pulling the leg off, one leg off your pack of chunk. And so if you can get something that's a little more durable that they can't like bite off as easy, uh, it makes Daniel. I'm very much anti that. I don't care who or what like wants to promote boot tail jigs or boot tail swim baits on a swim jig. That's not what I'm about. I think people catch. I was talking to my buddy about this, um, and I think the difference is the guys that use like a boot tail or like some sort of like swim bait thing on a swim jig. I think they catch a different fish than I catch. Like I think they're targeting a different fish in like a different part of the column, or not even in the column, but like triggers a different reaction. Because usually when I'm swimming a jig, it's like not far from the surface. It's if not on the surface. Um, so I know like the guys like up north, like Hella, like they're reelers. They they reel them, and I think that's more like a chatterbait fish, kind of, than like than what typically people will like do down here or like in the south. Um, I don't know though. Going out tomorrow. Water is likely low to mid 40s. Dude, that's exciting though. Like hell, you get to watch everybody like bitch and moan about like the fish being weird and like funky because they're like spawn, post spawn. Like your fish are just like just getting fired up. They're not jaded yet. They're still happy and hungry and mad. Like all the good things about fishing. Uh, Hold on, I miss them. Daniel, I do the shake. I'm a shaker. I'm a shaker. It's just it's I mean it's honestly like I said I've been doing that shit since 2004. Like it's just like second nature now to just like kick the bait. Um, and there's different levels of shake. Like I just reel it and just pump it. You know what I mean? And then there's some guys that like they'll like whip their rod. There's like you see all kinds of dudes that have like, or you see the guys that like really like fast shake it. Mine's like a pump. Like I just sit there and like do this. Um, I don't know what it is. I think the goodbye, my sweet. Like people talk about like dude just said about the you use the right trailer and you can get like the secondary action of not having to shake. But I don't I feel like the fish can feel that. Like you're adding more like pulse to the bait. That's more than like what a trailer can do. I don't know. Maybe it's just internal. Throw the damn frog. Throw the damn frog. Hella, since you're a reeler, that's good to know. What? How high typically are you reeling in the water column? Can you see your bait, or is it like a foot under the surface? And I understand that it would vary, but like typically, if you're going to go reel a swim jig, do you want to be able to see it, or are you catching fish that you don't necessarily see bite it on average? Oh yeah, I keep forgetting Marty's in Arkansas. Oh, now that I have people here, um, does anybody have two Strike King 4S's that they would like to trade me for something? Color is irrelevant. I'm going to paint them. But this guy wanted two 4S's Strike King. He's like, I can't find these things, and I don't want to pay like shipping on two baits. Like, I was like, dude, I think I could find two 4S's somewhere. Um, and he's like, I just need a couple. I'm like, well, Let me see. Let me see. Mr. Yorkster. New Yorkster. What's it going to take to get a couple 4S's off of you? I have stuff to trade. I have AJ Cincos I can take 2 out of and send you some Cinco packs. Usually not watching it. Interesting. So do you think, Hella, that the same fish that eats your swim jig would eat a chatterbait? Like if they were like extra aggressive, or like are they in the same range of like where a fish would bite? Oh, speaking of Dardanelle, what's up with that? Is it blown out to the point where you can go slip Kennedy hole, or is that place ruined and never to be? Sorry, AJ, you might be 2 packs short, bro. For us, I feel the same fish that would eat a chatterbait would eat a lipless, same vegetation targeting. Same water column, but just depends on the conditions on which I would throw. Okay, see, I think that's the difference when you hear, like, you don't, I never heard a lot talked about it, but I feel like the fish I would catch on a swim jig um, are not chatterbait fish. Like I wouldn't, like they're 2 different areas that I wouldn't typically pick up a chatterbait to interchange with a swim jig. Um, it's a different thing. Morgan, I'm kind of the same. A swim jig fish around here is maybe a buzzbait fish, maybe a frog fish, maybe you know, maybe a fast spinnerbait fish, but I never catch fish fast. That's what's so weird is I've caught fish blazing a swim jig like as fast as I could reel it, just and dude, I never caught jack shit burning a spinnerbait, and that's how like I've talked to him, and you'd see that damn Terminator with them double willows like this far under the surface, and that fish come up there in the black water, and it's. I was like, dude, this is awesome. I've got to do that. So that's how I've like fished a spinnerbait, simply because I thought that's how you fished it, and B, I wanted to see that bite. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to get that bite, and dude, I probably have caught maybe could count them on one hand fish that bit a spinnerbait like that. But old Jimmy Houston used to do it like every weekend. Looking back now, he was probably filming like 16 shows on the same day that they were doing that. He'd just go like change clothes and then go out there and like catch the same fish so he could like be on that bite. And dumb me thinking it's like every time he went out there. Dude, back in the early days of swim jigging, it was like, it was stupid what you could do with that thing. It was stupid. Like you can catch them on anything. Like if you had a tree that was like a big tree out in the river, and it had like sparse limbs in it, you could throw that stupid ass jig up there with a super chunk on it and just like drop it down like, you know, a foot, and the trees out hanging over like 15, 20 feet of water. And you could just like take that jig, swim it through the middle of the tree, and one would just come out of the limbs and blast it. Dude, I couldn't tell you the last time I caught a fish in a tree like that swimming a jig. Like it has been years and years. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm not swimming a jig in trees. I don't know, but it used to like you could literally, maybe it's because we swam a jig so much. Is that you just like it got so big and so popular that you just like caught them so good, you're like, well, what else can I swim a jig around? And you just constantly just threw it around everything. Because it's, I mean, it was that versatile. Pretty odd, pretty wild. But you never hardly hear about you never hardly hear about people slow rolling. I mean, not slow rolling, but like swimming a jig in like wood. But like in the early 2000s, I would swim a jig in a tree before I'd throw a spinnerbait or a crankbait. Like that was just what I did. Um, New Yorkster, I'm with you, man. I have a hard time slow rolling. I will say, um, I never understood a spinnerbait until I started fishing one slow though, and I got way more bites. Like that was what unlocked the spinnerbait for me. Uh, like I was never like a huge spinnerbait fan, and the reason is because I never caught a ton of fish on it. Like it was like, you know, I'd catch one here and there, but it was never like, you know, like usually around here, like that's the majority of people's like favorite bait. Like it is just a spinnerbait. Like from the middle of the state down, it's just like spinnerbait world. That's what guys grew up on. That's what guys have confidence in. Like it's just the way of the world down here. You just throw a spinnerbait. And guys love throwing a damn spinnerbait. And I was never that guy. I always gravitated towards a crankbait. But it wasn't until I learned how to slow down with a spinnerbait and not see it. Like once I started fishing a spinnerbait to where I couldn't see the blades, that's when I started catching them. Like really started catching them to where the light bulb went off and was like, oh, this is why this thing's kind of good. That's why people still throw a spinnerbait. It's because they don't think they're Jimmy Houston and they probably aren't looking at it the whole time they're throwing it. Speaking of trailers, that's one thing I also can't do is throw. I see guys throw spinnerbaits without trailers, and that's like nails on a chalkboard to me. Like I can't handle that. Like I can't throw a spinnerbait without a trailer. Three-quarter with a single willow. You probably don't see that a lot, Marty. Probably not a lot of guys out there doing that, if I had to bet. Hell, you swim a jig with no trailer? Is that what you're talking about, or a spinnerbait? I have heard uh, lore of men swimming jigs with no trailers. I've heard fables of this. New Yorkster, have you heard my story about the man's classic spinnerbait? So if you look at the Tacklecraft Soala spinnerbait, it's basically the same design, or it's the same wire, and same head shape as the man's classic. Um, and I developed the bait just because all my buddies were like bitching about not being able to get Hank Parker classics. So I was like, oh, I can make that happen. So I did that, and the Hank Parker was very instrumental in my spinnerbaiting, because down here, like growing up when I was a kid, that's all you heard: Hank Parker classic, Hank Parker classic. So I went to the store as like a 12-year-old, and I bought a 1/4 ounce Hank Parker classic spinnerbait, which I still think I have. Uh, but but I didn't catch jack on it, dude. I catch like one here and there, and I kept hearing about it, like, oh, they're thumping that old Hank, dude. I'm like, really? Like, I've been hearing this since I was like in middle school. It's like, no, they're not. And yeah, come to find out when I was like 30 that all these guys talking about throwing a Hank Parker were throwing the 3/4. Like, I never knew it. And like, I guarantee that's what Jason Christie grew up on. 100%. Because if you watch him fish a spinnerbait, he fishes a spinnerbait like everybody down here. I guess it's the same kind of, the guys are on the same kind of bite that is they have in like Oklahoma. But I know, hell, it hurts. Swim jig or chatterbait without a trailer. I've seen dudes do it though. It's pretty weird. It's a pretty odd sight. The other thing I can't do is I can't throw a swim jig or a regular jig with one leg missing. I'm sure they'll hit it, but I feel like I've never had a bite with one leg missing. Like, maybe one here and there, like peck at it, or you catch one, like. But I was practicing for an event one day, and there's this dude that's really good on the lake that I was fishing, and it was a father son team, and the dad was fishing. The dad was old. He was like, he had to have been like late 70s, and he was the one practicing. And I went past him, and I looked. I said, "Hey, what's up, man?" He's like, "Hey." And he was swimming that jig, and he held it up and turned around to me and said something. And I looked at his jig, and he had a white swim jig on with a pack a chunk, and he had one leg on it. And I was like, There's no way this dude is like practicing with a one-legged pack of chunk and like doesn't give a rat's ass, dude. That would be the last thing on the planet I would practice with. But he didn't care. He was out there swimming that thing one-legged. He wasn't going to change it. He wasn't going to change it. What's happened to the ledge buster? They kind of fell off. Jay, I could see both pros being both claws being gone, but one just something about the one. Uh-oh, I'm missing comments. The single willow is very underrated. Used to make some that I fished all the time. Got close to the big grub trailer. Actually, part of a couple line. A big jig to swim to my trailer, but it has a blade. I've hung a blade off the back of a swim jig since probably 2010-ish, but I still catch them better on a plastic trailer. You see that? Marty, I got some giant. I got the blades, bro. I got the blades. Where's my blade box? The bean was playing with it. Let's see here. Look at these damn things. Is that one too big? What size is that? What size blade would that be? I'm looking for a spinnerbait. I mean, that's like the size of the spinnerbait. There's a Bagley B3, and it makes it look small. It does. New Yorkster. Let me show it to you. Excuse the ratty looking skirt, but yeah. 32 thousandths wire, repped eye, sexy head, 5/0 hook. Yeah, it's damn money, dude. Only problem is I'm out of them. Or I haven't reordered. I've got some. I've got it in a 3/8 too. This is just the 3/4. But that's the damn deal. Kyle, no Alabama shake when I'm retrieving a swim bait. Let's see, Marty. This might be a number 7. Is that too big? Here's an what is this, old Strike King? Measure it. That's what she said. This one is 3 3/4 inches long. These are 3.5. Usually a number 7 Hildebrandt, Colorado. That thing is gigantic. Make me a wake and bacon out of that. That's what I actually bought these for. To make me a wake and bacon. Oh. Ryan is what like reeling a spinning reel upside down. New Yorkster, glad you see it the same way as I do. Like there's a whole science behind the wrapped wire. Um, like it's stronger. You can get away with using a lighter wire by having a wrapped bend because they typically aren't going to break at the R bend where an R bend is going to work. So you can use a 32 thousandths wire and it be more durable than if you were using an R bend. So there's a lot. There's a lot that goes into the wrapped wire, but people typically don't like the wrapped wire ends. Um, I think it's just mainly like aesthetics. I don't know. Morgan, let me know. There's probably a couple hundred in here, like 500. If you need some for real, I've got a lot, and I'm never gonna sell and make that many spinner baits. So I ordered way more Indiana blades, but I had delusions of grandeur that I was gonna make all these big you know I was gonna be some spinnerbait salesman, and then I started putting them together. Like, nah, this ain't for me. I need to I need to pay somebody to put these together. Yeah, I mean, the wrapped bin, I guess maybe it makes them not cast great, but usually the distance I'm casting one, it doesn't roll anyway. Like I'm typically not like making as long of a cast as I possibly can. Um, so the bait rolling and wobbling and flopping around doesn't really bother me. Building wire baits does suck. AJ, was that the magic combo for the wake and bacon? Was it a number 8 and a number oh no. The number 8 Hildebrand is 3.75. Wow. That was a I guess that was a number 8 willow. I don't know what I've been doing with those. Jay, dude, they used to sell those things with like the crinkle skirts. That was a badass spinnerbait for as cheap as it was. Like you said, they were like a buck or $2 back in the day. And like they had the really good like man style like painted eyes on them. Those are good bait. Good looking bait. My spinner baits are really in bad shape. So this is how they're organized right now. That is how they're organized. And I think I've got more. I think that's like a fraction of them. There's my little 3/8 ounce one. That's my little 3/8. Same wire, same head. Need to trim that skirt down, but the 3/8 head. Oh, we got them all. I gotta go through this stuff. There's just a random wire I took some blades off of. New Yorkster, you got hey, look at what I got on this buzz piece. The old saltwater trailer. Hart did make a nice trailer. I mean, a nice spinnerbait. Rest in peace, Ken Cook. He was the shiz. I had a great deal of respect for Ken Cook. Which brings me to another topic. I should probably just stop this video and start doing block it 6-minute videos. I could have made what is six minutes divided into 128, or a hour and 28 minutes. I could have made a whole week's worth of block it videos if I were smart. Dude, this little combo right here will catch their ass. It's got a number, I don't know if this is a 2 Colorado and a 3 Oklahoma or turtleback, whatever you want to call it. Dude, that little son of a buck, 3/8 ounce head, that little son of a dick will catch them. It will catch them. Eric sent me this thing to throw. I haven't thrown it yet. He says it's the shiz. I guess that's a super eruption. Don't know. Don't know. There's old Big Mama. There's old Big Mama. There's old Stanley. Good bait. All right, I'll do this later. I need to keep sanding. Keep sanding. Got to get through the pile. It's getting smaller. Got about 12 more. So when are you going to have Marty Burns versus TK prop bait versus buzz bait? I don't know. I'd have to have somebody with a prop bait versus me with a buzz bait, because I'm much more well versed with a buzz bait than I am with a prop bait. I didn't own a whopper plopper until Eric sent me one like a couple months ago. We were talking on the phone, and he was like talking about a whopper plopper, and he's like, when you fish one? I'm like, no, I don't know when you fish one. He's like, why, you don't throw one? I was like, no, I don't even own one. He's like, you do not own a whopper plopper? I'm like, no, I don't own a whopper plopper. So he's like, dude, you got to throw this damn thing. he sent me a whopper popper to try out. Marty, I think I have both one of your prop baits and I have your reeling buzz bait that's got the head on it. This one. You talking about this one, Downey? That thing? I got all kinds of treasures in this box. It's a treasure chest. Catching lunkers, I had to go look and see. I bet it's a 90. Let's see. That's the 110. Uh-oh. Let's see what happens. Hey, what are you doing? Who is this? Oh, shit. How you doing, man? What's happening?
Man, we decided to jump in a tournament, so we're doing a little looking.
You look, you're in a creek somewhere.
Yeah, we're in a creek somewhere. We're doing a lot of looking up here on D-Ville, man. Been looking for a couple days now. Not a lot of catches, but a lot of looking.
You mean physically looking for physical fish?
Physical fish, what you might expect might happen when the water temp 65 and you got a warmer trend in Alabama.
Well, pull out your centipede, Ike style.
Centipede, baby.
What?
I just walked out at you, man.
What y'all seeing?
There's a lot of fish up, no bigs yet.
Huh? Got to get away from where the little ones are.
Well, that's why we're hunting. The hunt continues.
I
want to see a DD on a bed so bad.
Yeah, you
and
need.
Watch Ryan catching his turn because I'm only trusting in him.
What's the probability of that on Gunnersville?
Ryan, hold on, we're saying hello to somebody. Yeah, it's a little windy out there. Good luck, guys. It's gone from 36 and frosty. One more frost on the boat on Tuesday, TK. 60 this morning. So the nights are getting warmer. It could go down. He said, what's the probability of seeing a 10 on a bed on Gunnersville if the conditions were right? Say hi to Ryan Sullivan.
Salzy, what's up?
What's up? Probability, if I can see 4 feet, I'd say 90% right now. If I can see 4 feet down. It's a little murked up. It's a little too stained. Like we can see them, but not good enough. You know, got a little ripple because of the wind. Yeah, a little too much stain. So we can see them about 2.5, 3 feet down. That's about max. But they're really big ones, man. I've seen some giants here. They've been in 4 to 6 a lot of times. So yeah,
interesting.
You're not gonna look at them, but you can get them.
Well,
what you working on today, man? Did you get that box I sent you?
I did. I thought that was a interesting send.
I thought you thought it. I had to know.
Do you want them all? You want them all that same color?
I'm thinking, but let me ask you a question. If you could get one color of a DRT clash, what color would it be? This is your chance to tell him exactly what's painted, or we can text him later. You don't have to say it live. It's a thread, like a threadfin shad color. Okay. One of the big DRTs, threadfin shad.
That's easy enough.
All right. You know, like just like a gizzard or a thread, you know, something like Tennessee River looking. You know, nothing crazy, but Blair, I'm gonna show him this color. I love this. Hold on, he's got one. He's gonna whip it out. It's like my favorite color here. It's like a silver,
Okay, yeah, I got that. It's like that one's, yeah.
I mean, true Tennessee shad.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
So
now I know.
the orders are in.
The orders are in.
I'll call you later. We'll talk, man. Thanks for. We're gonna keep running and looking, man. Thanks for letting me join, TK.
Anytime. Y'all have fun.
I'll call you tonight. You gonna be around tonight?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'll give you a shout.
All right.
Thanks, man. See you guys.
Later. I don't know how to. There you go. Legendary Lakes left. Well, there's your report from Gunnersville. Sorry, YouTube people. Legendary Lakes Epic Eric Galasso just swung on live from Gunnersville. Apparently, they've been having some cold weather up there. Vincini, how are you? Decided to jump in a tournament. No thanks. I would rather just go and rip on them. That's what because me and my buddy Chad and Young and Bo, we used to go up to Gunnersville in September, October, August, whenever they were having the Spro Frog tournament. And you would go up there and practice and throw nothing but a frog, which was very frustrating because you typically didn't want to catch all the fish that you were getting bites from. So you would just, practice and get bites on it and get blasted, but you could never stick one. So you go through like 2 days of getting blasted on a frog, and then you finish the tournament, and hopefully you catch like some and do decent, get some bites. But we started thinking about it, and the Spro, I mean the Snack Proof tournament is not like, it's a grind. It's not like an easy tournament to win, and you don't win that much money. So we started thinking about it, and we're like, why are we even doing this? Why don't we just like instead of coming up here and practicing and like spending the time like not catching them, wouldn't it be more fun to just come up here and rip on them for 4 days on a frog and like catch everything that bites? So we talked about it. And we're like, maybe we should just come up here the same weekend and just frog fish normal and not fish the tournament. Or rather, in practice, just catch everything and just like say, screw it. If we catch them during the tournament, we catch them during the tournament. If we don't, we don't. Like, it doesn't matter. Because it's Gunnersville, so at the same time, just because we don't catch them doesn't mean that somebody didn't come in behind us and like find the same fish and just rip on them. So you never really know. Yeah, we did it for years, Marty. And then I guess in our old age, we started thinking about what was more important, winning some stupid ass frog tournament or actually like going out there and just like catching 30 fish out of a mat. Like, that's way more fun than like winning $2,000 or something or whatever it pays. So and that's if you win, and it's not easy to win. We did wise up. We got smart. So and I say that, and we'll go fish it next year. But we'll see. I'm not putting it past us, but I think I'd much rather just go up there and fish. And if you want to go to like, I don't know if like Goose Pond has food anymore since does anybody know? Does Goose Pond sell like burgers and stuff? Since the state bought the ramp or acquired it or whatever. But that yeah, if you're out there fun fishing and you want to go get a burger and sit on the porch at Goose Pond and eat a burger and hang out and shoot the shit and go back out fishing, like you can do that. You don't have to worry about like, you know, being in turning mode. Kyle, that's a ramp at Gunnersville, um, midsection, mid lake. It's uh, one of the more famous boat ramps there. Waterfront is right below it. It's also got a pretty famous ramp store, uh, tackle shop across the street. Um, but if you're ever, Kyle, if you ever go to Gunnersville and you don't know where to fish, just go put in at Goose Pond and uh, leave the boat ramp and go out towards the river and just take a right and just start fishing wherever. Burns, we should get you and Eric, and we'll all meet up and do a meetup at Gunnersville. That'd be fun. We'll do a Marty Burns only tournament instead of the snag proof only. We'll do a Burns only. You can only throw big M baits, and you can't bring your own blocks of wood to build while you're there. Correct, Hella. I would consider Goose Pond being part of the Magical Mile, even if it's south of there. I mean, I don't know how it wouldn't be. I mean, I feel like it's got to be, right? If it's not, it should be. I don't know what the exact coordinates of what is considered the Magic Mile on Gunnersville is, um, but I know it's around waterfront, that kind of area. I would think Goose Pond would have to be involved in it. Later, Hella. Smalley's here in Ontario. That's awesome. Thanks, dude. What is it? 1 o'clock? I got a fishing trip coming up. I got to get these done. Any last calls for paint color? Marty, how big is your tackle collection, considering you build baits? How many of your own baits do you have, do you think? Prototypes, losers, whatever. What's your AJ? I'm certainly doing ghost gill, and I'm also going to do that ghost bone you do on these. Dude, I had one of the most incredible days. It wasn't a day, but it was like, it was just, it was in the snag proof. We were practicing for the snag proof, and this was before they started regulating what you could do with a snag proof frog. So at this time, guys were getting a little creative with how to fish and rig a snag proof frog. So we got wise and we said, this is it's probably 10 years ago. So we got smart and we're like, dude, we're going to flip this damn frog. So we got It might have been sooner than that. It might have been 8 years. Whenever the Ish frog was out, Ish's fat frog was out. So however long ago that was. So we get this thing, and I put a 1 ounce flipping weight on it, and a punch skirt that I bought from Waterfront, I think, and a black. I had a black, and I had that ice blue Ish's fat frog, and I put the punch skirt on it, the big weight, and we were like, "What are we going to do with this thing?" So we started out in Goose Pond, and we were trying to like flip it, but it really wasn't like we were trying to flip like in the actual mats, and I was like, I don't think this is like. I don't think they're in the mats that good. And I think this is when the tournament was in August. So they moved it to September 1st of October, which made things better. But the at this point it was still in August, so it was a while ago. And there weren't a lot of like mat fish, like fish in the like super thick stuff that you could like catch on a frog or anything. So I said, dude, if everybody else is trying to frog the mats, why don't we try to catch fish with this that's like off the mats? So we started flipping that thing in like 5 to 6 feet of water in like grass you couldn't see that was just like scattered off the edge of the mats. Dude, the first one I stuck was a 6. Like we were just going down the bank, and we'd probably been like flipping this thing like 10 minutes, and I started pitching off the like my buddy was fishing on this side of the boat, like where the grass line was, and I started pitching on the other side of the boat in like the 6, 7 foot of water, and just kind of like hopping it through the grass kind of hard. And dude, I pumped it one time through the grass, and it just like starts pulling, and I set the hook on this thing, and the fish comes up, and it was a damn freak. And my buddy looked at me, and he was like, "Holy shit, dude!" He's like, "Was that on that stupid? Were you like the weighted one?" I was like, "Yeah." It's like, "Whoa!" So we thought we were about to like light this tournament up, but the only problem with the flipping that thing was that you really couldn't hook them. Like it was near impossible because your bait would fill up with water. So in order to hook them good, you would need the bait to compress, but it was full of water, and like you could cut the ass end out of it to where like water would just flow freely in and out of it. But like at that point, you're not even really fishing a snag-proof frog. And I think that's what happened was like people were dissecting baits so much that at the end of the day, it wasn't even a real like snag-proof frog. Um, and I had all these like brilliant ideas to like how to get around like having to actual frog, um, because snag proof at the time made one called like a woolly booger or something. It was like a woggle something wiggle. I don't even know what it was. It was like a tadpole with a kicker tail on it. And I sent it to my buddy, and I was like, dude, I can cut a hole in this to where it fills up with water, and I can put I can like Texas rig, like put a sinker on the front and a punch skirt and swim it like a jig. I was like, this thing's gonna get rocked. And he's like, dude, we're gonna do that, Stanley. But for whatever reason, that frog did not qualify as one you could use in the snag proof tournament. It was like the wiggle wog or something. It was a weird one, but that was how I was going to win the snag proof tournament was because we didn't at the time we didn't know Gunnersville good enough to like go out there and like rat with the best of them. Um, but after seeing what I've seen on Gunnersville, like over the years, like there's literally fish everywhere up there, like anywhere you turn. Do this, turn in a circle and point somewhere, just go over there and fish. There's fish there. Because I remember fishing places that like I fished and I never caught fish, and then you go with somebody else and they're like, dude, this is the juice. It's like, is it really? They're like, no, this is like the juice. It's like, dude, I fished here like 4 years ago and I never had a bite. And they're like, well, you might not have had a bite, but this is like the juice. So, well, I fished all over it and never had a clue. And I feel like that's how it goes sometimes. You might fish all over the an area and be like, oh, I don't you know really feel like this is like the best spot. But then you go like with somebody else, it's like familiar with the lake maybe a little bit. They're like, yeah, dude, you were like all over them. Maybe it's the wrong time of year, wrong time of day, wrong bait, wrong something, but didn't work out. So, uh, but yeah, from my own like personal experiences with Gunnersville and then fishing with my buddy Chad and seeing like stuff he's done, like there's fish everywhere. There's fish everywhere. South Jersey, what's up, dude? Might not all be catchable, but that don't mean they don't live there. I've got 8 more. I need to get these done. And then I can go rig up my gear. I probably only need 2 rods. Damn, big skinny dipper and a little skinny dipper. Had the Morgan, had the D-bomb just come out? Was it like still fresh? The cool thing to me though is like, yeah, it's cool when like a new bait comes out or something. But could you imagine being like the first guy on Gunnersville to have like a 1-ounce tungsten sinker? And it seems dumb now. Or the first guy in Florida. Jay, you could probably attest to that. And I'm talking like years and years and years ago. Like down here when there was matted grass like that, like deep matted grass, like if you'd have given guys down here, like told them that they could flip that stuff with a 1-ounce sinker, it would have been silly what guys would have caught. But I couldn't imagine being on like a grass lake and being like early in on the what the flipping bite was actually like when they got like the tackle that could do it. Like when the bobber stoppers, the whole thing, the way we like, I guess I call it flip. Some people call it punch, but flip matted grass where you got the bobber stopper, you got the weight, decent hook, the braid. Once you put all that together, like if you were like first to have that, how awesome that would have been. Flying pipe. Sounds dangerous. How do you throw back baits? That's just like down here though. Like if you would have been like the first, I don't know. I try to think about like will a fish that eats a like an ultra vibe worm, will it also eat like a skinny dipper? Jay, have you heard me talk about my buddy Blaine? That when we were in high school, I think we were like seniors in high school, or he might have been just out of high school. He might have been like had graduated, and his girlfriend got him like a gift for them to go on a trip to Florida to fish the Everglades and to fish Okeechobee. And he went out with this guide, and he like brought tackle with him, and so this would have been in like 2000. I think I told you this. It would have been like 2003. And he got down there and he had a bunch of black and blue jigs, and he starts pitching his jig around, and this guy's like, well, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm just fishing like I would at home." And he's like, "Yeah, we don't, they don't bite jigs down here." I'm like, okay. And he's like, they bite a friggin' black and blue jig anywhere on the planet. And he's like, "Yeah, they don't bite that down here." And the guy was very adamant about him like not using a black and blue jig because fish in Florida didn't bite that. And Blaine like smoked their ass on that thing. And I don't know if that guide was like trying to like throw him off the trail, so he didn't like go home and tell everybody he smoked him in Florida on a jig, or if that guide was just like really old school and didn't want to. All he did was like throw worms and stuff. But Blaine said it was like they'd never seen it before. Which they probably hadn't at the time. There probably wasn't a ton of people pitching a jig on Okeechobee in 2003. Like you said, Ish won with a 1 ounce jig in 2012, so that would have been almost 10 years prior, which is a pretty good time. Um, Pretty good time. All right, I'm getting excited. 4 down. So I've been talking for 2 hours now while I sand these baits. I wonder why Instagram hasn't cut my feed off, because they were doing it early in the week where they'd clip me after like an hour. I don't understand. I don't understand. Paolo's getting a little sloppy. Maybe so. I don't know. Maybe they're like, damn, this guy really needs to like talk to these people. Instagram said, damn, this guy really needs an outlet. Let's give it to him. Let's give him another hour. Putting in the last request for the blue and orange Rapella. I might could do that. I might can make that happen. We'll see. Maybe I'll just do 2. And I'll hide them on the website for you to find, Morgan. Dude, funny y'all talk about that. Rich. So Mario was on here and he made a comment that a company called Nomad Designs big boyed him out of his name. And I never said. I don't think I repeated Nomad. Like I don't think I said that name. I might have, but I get on Facebook last night. And guess who I'm getting an ad from? Nomad Designs. So creepy, dude. So creepy. Morgan, I've thought about doing that as well. Just putting some like you have to click on some dumbass link that's like, you know, random on the page. Like take a survey, and then you take a survey, and there's like you unlock my website. I've thought about that a bunch actually. To like have people bitch that there's nothing on my website, but if you really snooped around and like did some clicking and hunting, that you would find like this one page that would lead you to this other page, and then it would open up and like my whole collection is for sale. Like everything, like people are like, "What's this wall?" Secretly, that wall is all for sale on my website, but you have to look for it. Like those are all waiting to be packaged and sent out. But nobody has found the secret page. But I'm sure somebody that was smart with code could like pull the code from the website and like figure out where it was. I don't know though. Maybe not. Kyle, as funny as that sounds, I have had people send me baits to repaint the same color. That's a true story. Send me a chartreuse black bait and say, "Hey, can you paint this chartreuse in black?" I'm like, "It's already chartreuse in black." I'm like, "Yeah, I wanted a different chartreuse in black." Okay, no problem. AJ, what are you working on today? Your take on chartreuse in black? Yeah, it's not as good as Strike Kings, but I'll try. Little do y'all know, my whole Uncle Josh collection is for sale on tacklecraft.com. Hidden. Kyle, you don't have to hire a hacker. There might be clues in all of my Instagram posts that lead to one thing. I'm like the Zodiac killer, but not a killer, just a bait junkie. Probably can't say probably can't say that because my video probably just got flagged now because I said the ZK. It's like it's kind of be like Willy kind of be like Willy Wonka. There you go, Ryan. Just make some invisible button that somebody would just have to randomly. But that's too. That's to leave it that random. I feel like that would be too easy for somebody to just accidentally click on. Augustus Gloot. Augustus. I used to love that scene where they're interviewing Augustus and he bit the microphone. Augustus Gloot. What a great movie. What a great movie. I got flagged and banned from Instagram and Facebook for making a joke about a swim bait on Facebook. Wow, that's pretty pathetic. AJ, were you talking about me being the husky kid? The husky me? Or are you talking about Augustus? Old Willy Wonka, dude. The Johnny Depp version is not good. I did not like that. I just didn't like Johnny Depp. I thought he was a terrible Willy Wonka. It was just like it was cringy. It was cheesy. It wasn't like it was bad. Like Gene Wilder's the shit though, dude. Like he was brilliant as Willy Wonka because he was so like quirky and like dark, but also like the opposite at the same time. It was really a character had a lot of depth to it that I don't think. Like Johnny Depp's character had no depth. He was just like goofy. And I don't think that encapsulates Willy Wonka. But I'm no thespian. All right, guys. The hard part is over. Now the fun begins. I always talk about Grandpa Joe, Ryan. Like when me and my wife are laying on the couch and her feet are pointing towards mine, I'm like, I feel like damn Grandpa Joe on the damn couch. South Jersey, that's pretty pathetic. I would love to be the Willy Wonka of bait making. How do you do that? How do I become the Willy Wonka of bait making? Send out golden tickets? All right, gentlemen. I need to get off of here, go watch Willy Wonka, and cancel my fishing trip. There's no Is it raining? Is it pouring? Is a hurricane a blowing? It's certainly not showing any signs that we are slowing. Woo! I think that's my favorite part of Willy Wonka, when they're in the tunnel and the chicken gets his head cut off. Is it raining? Is it pouring? Is a hurricane blowing? AJ, can you quote that whole song? I bet you can. All right, gentlemen. I'll be organizing these, painting DT6s, and doing my thing. Thanks for stopping in. We'll see y'all next time. I figured you'd like that part, AJ. I don't know what other one would be. Comple. Thanks, Kyle, South Jersey, AJ, Rich, all you dudes. I'll check in tomorrow. Let you know how it did. Adios.